what's up world? It's Rise in Ottawa. I'm on the way to the train station to pick up one of my dance inspirations, Archie Burnett from Brooklyn, New York. And super excited to have him here in Ottawa where he's going to be hosting our session today, our Capital Sessions, our monthly session that we throw. And so Archie's an incredible dancer. We first met him in the early 2000s when we were in New York, taking classes from him, and then eventually just, kept in touch with him and just have marveled at, the person that he is. He's larger than life. He's larger than life on the dance floor and off the dance floor. Just an incredible, beautiful person who loves the dance, and his love for the dance shines through in everything that he does. He's the current grandfather of the House of Ninja, the legendary voguing crew, and an incredible whacker, incredible voguer, but also a philosopher of the dance as well. And one of the things I really admire about him is that he managed to hold down a job. He had a whole career with a job and was still able to keep his love going for the dance and just doing that double duty and doing everything, like dancing and also, being a provider and a sustainable person who's able to, live with this passion that we all have. That's this crazy thing that drives us, right? So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and looking forward to dancing with him later on. I hope you enjoy the show. Archie Burnett, welcome to Gone Monk.
Well, this is really cool. Really cool.
We're really glad to have you. Super glad to have you, man.
Happy to be here. Long time and I see this one.
It's been a long time. I think last time we went to New York was 2012. So
wow.
7 years, going on 7 years. Yeah, it's been a long time. Well, we had some kids. We did some stuff.
Yay. Yay.
So it's been a long time. But I was just telling Archie about how much spending time with you and Bravo in that place in Brooklyn, how much it influenced me personally as a musician, how much it changed my take on the world and on house music. It's been really transformational. So I'm so happy to have you here.
Hey,
and we get to share you also with some of our friends as well. Who, we've been trying to build the scene. We've been doing what we can do. It's very isolated from the world that you're from in New York. But at the same time, people really can relate to the whole house thing. And we have a club here that I've been playing at for 20 years. So
nice.
We've been trying to bring that in to, bring our Capital Sessions that we do into the club almost every Saturday. And so we've been building, we've been building. So
community is everything. It's everything. It's everything. I mean, for us, back in the day, the club was the meet and greet, and the funny thing is, you didn't even know or even have to know the guy's last name. We partied for people with 30 years. Don't even know their last name. Don't even know what they did for a living. Because the idea was we didn't care. It was like going to church.
Yeah. Yeah, and you appreciate people on a different level too. You have this personal, immediate relationship with them where it's like you're really relating to each other's physicality.
For real. For real. There's no hiding with that. Yeah. A friend of mine used to say, I think when I went to Japan the first time, they said the whole idea behind the onsen, you can't hide. It's like come as you are. You can't hide. Club is the very same way.
That's interesting.
Because when you go to the club, you're there to release. I mean, that some people are there to drink and so on. But here's the thing: sometimes, for some people, alcohol is the doorway for them to release.
It is.
For sometimes, drugs for some people, or drugs is the doorway to release. I don't do none of that stuff. But what I'm saying is that the need to release has always been the primary function for every society.
It's like a catharsis in the ancient Greece, right?
Absolutely.
They would do it through the theater.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do people do that in the corporate America, the modern corporate world?
Well, you know what they do? What they do is after work, they go and have after work drinks. They socialize in other clubs, other meeting spaces to let off steam. Some people do it constructively.
Yes.
Some people do it, destructively.
Yes.
But the fact still remains that as human beings, we need a certain type of outlet, a certain type of release. Because let's be real, stress is a motherfucker. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on in this life, probably no different since the beginning of time, just that, it just gets regurgitated, that cause people to have all this built up angst and, whether it's anger, whether it's disappointment, whether it's, these things that ultimately kind of like shape your path later on.
Yes.
Release calms that down. For some people, it's church. You know, I have a different type of church. You know, it's you know, for me, music is the one thing. Now that's another thing. People see me around the world as Archie dancer, blah 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 blah. But I'm gonna tell you something. I tell everybody the same thing, and they go, "Huh?" I said, "For me, it's always been the music. Dance for me is the byproduct of what that music is doing to me. So when we go to that club, we're going to that club only to hear music that we've never heard before. For instance, if something is playing on the radio that's let's say the A side, the club would only play the B side. You'd rarely get the A side, and there's a reason for that. It brings you to a whole different experience, a whole different opening, a whole different way of thinking. Because when you think out of the box, you know, you're going, oh, is that a possibility? And this is what I mean to say. I myself consider myself, I represent myself as a possibility. As long as that possibility exists, it allows other people to say, well, you know what? Yeah, why not? There you go.
That's beautiful, man. You're a philosopher of the dance, Archie. So I'm really glad we got you
Oh,
in here.
thank you.
We're going to go deep.
I'm in. I'm ready.
And you're talking about, you mentioned so many different things there, but talking about the roots of the dance as coming from this impetus that you get from the music. And that's always what it's been for me, to the point where for me, because I'm so audio, you know, I'm such a sound person that, you know, I've been with Sarah for about 15 years, and I've been adopting her more systematic, more rigorous approach to learning the dance, right?
Yes.
But initially for me, it was just like I was a raver. Like I would just go and dance, and it didn't even matter who was watching or whatever. The lights could be off all the way. It was the relationship. What I got out of dance was locking in 100% into the zone and releasing, like you're saying, and just like becoming the song.
That's it.
You know?
That's it.
So, but over the last 15 years, I've been trying to learn the more visual aspects of it, because it's become something so intricate, and there's so much dance culture. And like you watch like, you know, like the Juste Debout, and then the summer dance, and the Amsterdam dance event and all that stuff. Or dance, what is it called? The Amsterdam one, the big one.
Summer dance forever, house dance forever.
House dance forever.
Yeah.
So you watch these kids, and I mean, like they've gone a whole, they've created something different out of what you guys started, right? And so what's the relationship between those two things? Is it all the same thing, or is the technical visual element of the dance different from the groove based release?
I got answers for that.
I know you
brother.
do.
I got answers for that. Here's the thing, whether a person wants to like it or not, the club is the classroom. We have generations of kids that are raised in studios. They're not raised in the social. So their approach to dance is that of a mathematical equation. 5, 6, 7, 8, move your hand here, move your hip here, move your that there. When you are emotionally invested in what you're hearing, everything changes. Technique comes along for the ride. So here's the thing. These contests are put as battles. And let me tell you something. House was never a battle. And as far as I'm concerned, that shit will never be a battle. So I don't, whoever's listening, I said so. It'll never be a battle. Because the deal is this. It's what you're giving to the universe. It's your connection to the earth. It's the connection to all. It's a spiritual thing.
It is.
You people say, yeah, man, house is a feeling. You're damn right it's a feeling. Now, here's the thing. How do you find a balance? Well, you know what? What I would do, I would have these contests, not battles, contests, and I would call them exchanges. That's what I would do.
Sarah and I have been talking about that for years.
Because when you have an exchange, it's a different vibe. It's a different feeling. Now, some people will argue, well, you know, being in a battle, you know, it makes you, you know, want to do more and go harder. I have a saying, combinations without content means nothing. James Brown said it himself, talking loud and saying nothing. If you're not emotionally connected to your vessel and what you're doing, you're not doing anything. That's why you all have a rhythm problem. Because you don't spend enough time in the club to get your metronome locked. You're so busy worrying about 5, 6, 7, 8, move your arm here, jump up here, jump down there. Okay, what can I do to make the crowd go wow? And here's the thing about dance. audiences don't necessarily know what they're looking at. They just want to be entertained. Understand that.
But that's the thing also, is that can you blame the kids, because the whole structure has been set up to only reward those wow moments and this, the so you think you can dance, the dance as an entertainment, and I mean that in the sort of the negative side of it, as opposed to an art, like where it's just this entertainment product. And so companies and structures and people have found ways of making money out of it and marketing it, and that's what
that's the double-edged sword.
That it is, it is
a double-edged sword.
It is,
because here's the thing, like we were speaking earlier, that we'll say here on record, is that the generations after us did something that we could not do. They turned this thing that we did for release into businesses. Once money got involved, excuse my French, it fucked everything up. But there's a way to figure that out. For instance, these dance shows and all of that makes, social dance in America is popular again. Well, it never left. It's just an avenue that a person figured out to make money. Now, because these kids generations under me, have done things that we couldn't do in making businesses. So how do you make a life in this particular dance that we do? And Check Your Body at the Door, the documentary, yes. Ijo says it very carefully. Well, why would you want to become a great dancer? You're not going to get paid for it. At that time, we weren't. At that time, we weren't. But it's all about money, because back in the 80s, here's a notation. If you ever look at VH1 old videos, look at the music videos, the early days of music videos. Everybody that was in that music video was ballet trained, classically trained. It had nothing to do with the music that was being played. You, if that song was in the club, you wouldn't see anybody in the club dancing like that. It was the era with Brian Green, Khalif, all of those guys, Elite Force. It was that era where they got discovered by that woman in the club. I forget her name. I'm sorry, baby. I don't know you, but I forgot the name. And decided to put them in music videos. Yeah. But here's the thing. The music that they were dancing to, it was directly connected to the movement that they were doing. That changed the game. So now all these people that were taking ballet, they're stuck now. Unless you're in a company that you're touring and you have benefits and all of that stuff and a schedule, it's few and far in between. Yeah. So what's the rest of the work? The rest of the work is commercial. Touring with an artist, maybe teaching at a school, or commercials. Yeah. So here's the thing. If everything is youth-based, they're going to move towards hip-hop, meaning the commercial entity is going to move towards hip-hop, whatever they consider is contemporary, which is what's happening now. So all those people that were taking ballet, they're like, oh, shit, to pass the audition, you know what? I need to jump and get some of this this vocabulary. But here's the thing. The industry honors mediocrity. So here's the thing. Well, I want you to do, something hip-hop-ish. Yeah. Like, if somebody just went like, okay, that's good enough. Yeah. So it indirectly teaches these kids, you don't have to go deep. Just get something maybe, and I'll pass the audition. Now, what that does, it waters down your content. So I tell every kid, sooner or later, you're going to be in that position where you're the choreographer and you're running the show. Don't you think you should at least put your integrity out there for real, at least once? Marjorie said it best. You got to stand up for something or else you'll fall for anything. It's a hard decision. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. Because then you're thinking, well, damn, do I take this job because I need to eat? Or, do I need to do, just be the hooker for the day and do the job with my body and blah, blah. Sometimes you have to get rid of a gig to get a better one.
Oh, that's so deep, dude. Never be so sure of what you want that you wouldn't be willing to accept something better.
Oh, baby. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've danced that line my whole music career, from, doing commercial music and music for stuff that I wasn't really into versus, doing the pure art, whatever I wanted to do, And so that line, I think, is a very fine line. But one of the things I really respect about you and Bravo is that you both managed to hold down a steady job your whole lives. You're now retired from your job. Yeah. And
5 years
I
now.
feel like you guys had a work ethic that a lot of people don't have now. And the kids these days, a lot of them, they want to do what I want to do for a living, you know? And this is this dream that's being sold to so many young kids that if you work hard enough, or if you chase your dream and you're honest with yourself, then you'll be able to do what you love for a living. But the reality is, if you want to be a professional cuddler, for example,
Yeah.
there's just not that much business professional cuddling, right?
Nope.
So, and the same with a lot of the club styles of dance is that, you know, these are spontaneous expressions that you guys in your generation came up with. You know, I remember Bravo telling me one time this kid came up to him and said, oh, I want to be a b-boy. And he was like, what do you mean you want to be a b-boy? He was like, no, I mean, I really want to do this. I want to be a b-boy, you know? And Bravo was like, kid, he's like, why don't you get a job and be a man? You know, be a B-man and get a job, you know? And it's like, you know, like, okay, what are you going to do with it? Like, it's one thing to want to do something, but it's another thing to want to get paid for it.
Exactly.
And if the current social environment, and we're talking about the current landscape with the internet and everything else, you know, I mean, other than being a YouTube star of some sort, and which is not really being a dancer anyway. Like, if you're constantly, you were talking about the kids, you know, they constantly got the phone like this. Like, what is that you do? You're just trying to find a way to sort of adapt your identity to making it commercially viable, right? So.
Exactly. I mean, this thing that you mentioned, it's like when you're forced by your status quo to say, okay, I just have to put out content. That means you're going to put anything out, whether you're connected to it or not, to constantly put out content so that you can get your numbers up. It's for the wrong reason. You got to do shit for the right reason. Now, I get it. This is the world that they live in now. So, how do you do things that gives you satisfaction and still gets you to where you need to go? Well, you know what? It just is a little slower. Because the issue is, these kids are feeling like they're running out of time. They want to do shit yesterday. You can't do that.
I mean, we're all running out of time.
You know what?
You know?
Perfect example. Like I said, like you said, I held down 3 jobs for 28 years, a home and a condo, took care of my mom, took care of Willie's mom, ended up teaching around the world using my vacation time.
You're cut from a different cloth, Archie.
It's
You're
like
cut
this.
from a different cloth.
But you know what it's like? It's like, what mother, good mother now, what mother wakes up today and goes, you know, today I'm not going to change that diaper. You just do it, right?
It's real. It's real.
It's real. Yeah. When it's release, we don't care what we have to do. We have to get it in and still handle your responsibility and still do that. And I look at it this way. I keep saying the same. Look, some people will, oh, well, you know, that's just utter nonsense. Look, I'll sleep when I'm dead, man. You know, I don't have enough time to sleep. The worst I was going to do is lose sleep. Working 3 jobs and traveling around the world. If anybody ever told me 40 years ago that I'd be traveling around the world, sharing my life with kids, I'd have said, nah, fucking what? Doing what I'm doing? Please.
Wow.
I wouldn't have been teaching in America had it not been for Brian Greene. Now, I was teaching before in Europe. But Brian Greene asked me, he said, Archie, you know, you should be teaching. I'll never forget. I said, me teach? Why the hell would anybody want to learn anything from me? Just go to the club.
Really?
Think about that. Yeah. In my head, it's that simple. Go to the club, do your time on that floor.
Yeah.
That's the best education you can get. But I didn't realize that the culture became something bigger than what we thought. So when kids come in, I never even knew kids came into the country just to get a little bit of something so that they could go back home. But here's the thing now. It's different coming into a country, gaining some knowledge, and automatically going home and teaching it. Yeah. Because you can't do that. It's like, I can't go to Japan, take a martial arts class, go back home, and say now, I'm teaching the true way of the martial art.
Though many do.
Exactly. You can't do that. And here's the thing. That's the issue that we've had all along. Where the actual thing to say was, I came to Canada, I took your class, you know what? I got inspired. I'm going to teach whatever I think the concept was left to me. It's not the real thing.
Yeah.
But I was inspired by this, so this is what I want to share. That's honest.
And give credit to your teachers too, right? Like, I mean, we did the same thing. We would go to New York and learn and come back, but we never really, I mean, we taught the class just so we could have a space in the studio, but it was more about, hey, look what we learned here. This is what it is. Go to New York, learn it yourself.
Yeah, you're passing on the inspiration.
We're passing it on and we're trying to light it up.
Exactly.
And that's what the whole point of the Capital Sessions is to try to get people interested in it. Because I think what happened in New York, dance-wise, as well as musically with hip-hop, I don't think anything like that's ever happened in the history of the world. I don't know if it'll ever happen again the way that it happened.
Yeah.
You know, the confluence of the African diaspora music, you know, the Latin music, which is also part of the African diaspora as well.
Yeah.
You know, but mixed with the indigenous musics, mixed with European music, mixed with European dance technique, you know, and New York itself, like just everyone being all together and that multicultural thing, and then the technology happening in the 80s with the synthesizers and the samplers starting, right?
Yep.
Like this is one of the things, one of the questions I had that I really want to ask you.
Yes.
Do you remember, because you were dancing in the late 70s, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so you, like in high school, that would have been late 70s?
Yeah, 74, 75.
Right. So
I graduated
back
77.
then, there was no electronic music yet, really.
No,
I mean,
until Kraftwerk.
Kraftwerk, yeah.
When Kraftwerk came, it changed the whole game. Obviously, there were other people working that out, but that was one of the big hits that happened.
So as a dancer, you're dancing before that. What happened when you heard that for the first time? You must have bugged right out.
We bugged out. I mean, I'll never forget. We were in actually, it wasn't the loft I heard that. I heard that, I think, at the garage.
Wow.
And when I heard that robotic thing, I was like, what is that?
Wow.
It was like a mind, because think the lights are low, the strobe is flashing, and then this thing comes on, and we're like, yo, Ichni Sanchi. We're like, ah, what is that? We were losing our minds,
That's
yo.
crazy.
And I, let me tell you, for a music aficionado, 2 years ago, I did a seminar with George Kranz.
Okay.
Mr. Dindada himself.
Wow.
And he is the coolest, funny dude. We asked, yo, where'd you come up with that? You want to hear how Dindada turned out?
Yeah.
That's how he tunes up his drums.
Are you serious?
Ding, boom, boom. Ding, boom, boom.
So is he sometimes just recording it or what? Like,
that's how he tunes up his drums. I was like, yo, we're like, I said, you have no idea. When that song came, it changed everything.
wow.
For the dance culture, for us, it changed everything. Din da da, doom 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 crash. I said, you have no idea what it did for Vogue. You have no idea what it did for just house. People were going crazy hearing that stuff.
Wow.
You know, and he couldn't even get that thing sold in his own home. Nope, Germany was not having it.
Wow.
I think he said the song had to go to Italy first, and then it went to France, and then some of the DJs took it to New York, and New York, that's when it, boom, the States, that's when it blew up.
Incredible.
And he said he couldn't even get that thing signed at home. Look at that.
Wow.
And when you're a dancer now, in our time, the kids, I don't know if the kids do it now, but in our time, we collect the tracks, we know the labels, and we know the artists. We even know who some of the people are playing on the thing. It was like a real, like, dance education when you found a track that you love.
And you would read the liner notes too, right? We'd have the liner notes and go through all the records. And
what do they do now?
They don't. And this is one of the other questions I wanted to ask you was about, you know, back in the day when we had music. Like, I mean, I remember, you know, play record and getting the stuff off the radio and then being like listening to it so much, you know, until the tapes would wear out, right? Then I remember buying the records and I remember reading all the liner notes and the tapes. You know? But now this Spotify thing, I mean, and iTunes, I mean, the playlists is the dangerous part because it's streaming, first of all, so nobody has the music. So if you don't have Wi-Fi, you're not collecting the music. You may like a certain selector or a certain playlist creator, but you're not really collecting the music. And I think it's devalued the art. I think it's devalued the music because people are like, oh, like, I mean, I go, you know, I go to my brother-in-law's and I'm like, oh, what are we listening to? And it's the chill step, whatever playlist, you know? And I'm like, Chills, that playlist. What the hell? Like,
I need the actual track,
I'll go in and
man.
try to find the track, and it's all different music. It's, you know, and nobody's really paying attention to it. I heard a music executive talking about it the other day at a music conference. He said they're passive listeners. We got active listeners and passive listeners, and some like 90% are passive listeners. I thought that was really interesting, the terminology, passive listeners. So they're not really concerned with what the artist is, what it is. They just sort of like overall the general aesthetic
like
of the channel or whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's a very different thing from what we were obsessed with. Oh, I'm still obsessed. I have music that people have given me where I don't have a name on the track, and I can't bring myself to play it, no matter how much I love the song. I keep them. But I don't play it out until I find out what that song is. You know, and Shazam doesn't work on these tracks. You know, it's like. And
I tell you, that's why I love people like him, because DJs, people who collect music, I found even in these younger generations, some of them have some things, some gems.
Yeah.
Some gems. And it's to the point now, I don't listen to the radio. I haven't listened to music in the radio for, I don't know, maybe 15 years. If I'm in the car and my wife puts it on, then I hear that. But as to actively say, oh, let me turn on the radio and hear some music. Nope. Right to the iPad. Yeah. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not fulfilling enough for me. It doesn't for me. It doesn't stimulate me at all. You know? When you go to the club and you hear those tracks that you could never hear on the radio, that's stimulating.
Oh, yeah.
That's the drawback, which creates the other dynamic. You know the thing about DJs, right? I have this thing that usually DJs have the biggest egos on earth, and they refuse to let anybody know their tracks for the simple reason why we went to the club. They feel, well, look.
It's a secret sauce.
This is my secret sauce, and you can only come to me for this recipe. Yeah. Get it? Yeah. But here's the thing. I guarantee you, if you give 10 people the same tracks, they'll play it differently. So here's the deal. You can have the same ingredients, but how do you make and you mix those ingredients give you that special flavor? So why are you threatened about doing this? Because one DJ did that to Bravo, and Bravo was pissed off. Bravo was pissed. And Bravo was, Archie, give me your fucking list. I said, what? Give me your list, because I'm going to give it to this motherfucker and say, be good. Because Bravo's idea was like, yo, he said, let me get this thing. Oh, I don't give my music out. Really? He was like, here, have a good day. Teaching the kid a lesson, which is like this. I couldn't care less if we all had the same songs. You don't get it. It's the atmosphere and what you do, what you bring to that. Totally. It's like we all have the same equipment. What you bring to something sets you different from somebody else.
Yeah. Even how the DJ is standing behind the decks as he's listening to that music. You watch Louis Vega playing, man.
You're my man, Lou. You know that.
The visual expression of the music just in his playing. You know? I mean, and that's what dancers are supposed to be doing too, right? But if they're all studying the same moves and they're all like robots doing these, choreographies and representing this stuff. Like one of the interviews with you that I appreciated the most was Amy Sakata's in
Come As You Are.
Yes. And when you did this thing here, this is like, the difference between. Look up that interview. It's amazing. But basically, he's talking about the emotional content behind, the move. And what you're saying is that you can learn a certain move, but unless you understand the overall, first of all, the overall feeling that the original dancer who's doing that had, but also the social context that they're in.
That's right.
That's a very different.
That's right. Because story. We all could speak the same language differently if we're off of the same impetus, and it's valid. But if I just say that, I saw somebody throw their hand in the air, and I'm going to teach it like I know that's what that person meant by throwing their hand in the air, the person could have just, oh shit, I just could have had a tick, But you see it as he purposely did that. Now, if you know that he had that tick, how would you do that? You might throw your hand this way as opposed to go, and it would be valid. You get that? it would be valid. But if you're only going on limited information, usually people make everything up after that. Know the inspiration behind something first. Then you can keep the, you can keep the context valid. That's it. Keeping the context valid. You can have variations. You can, which is another story where we speak about evolutions. You know, if a person, a tap dancer, if a tap dancer was taught in the you say in the ground, in the tapping ground with, let's say, Gregory Hines or the rest of these guys, there's a certain context that that person is getting from these older cats. When his idea to make variations on that, to make it his, he has something rooted that he can build off of. Not going, if the person went to tap, tap, one, to tap, tap, one, and that's the rhythm, but you're thinking tap, 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 one, tap, 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 one, thinking that was it, that's not it.
It's a diluted version of it.
Exactly. But if you know to tap, tap, one, to tap, tap, one, you might go patata tap one, patata tap one, patata tap one. It's the same context, but you're adding something that's uniquely you, that's part of you, that makes it valid. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's how steps evolve. That's how the dancing from the 70s looks totally different than from the 80s, looks totally different from the 90s, from 2000s. It's directly related to the social climate that you're in. Because I remember I got drafted at 12. It was a mistake, but Vietnam was going on, and I was scared as fuck. That letter came to the house. Man, that letter came to the house, and I was like, Mommy, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Because that was the first, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first war that was televised on TV. And you see people dying and shit like that. That's why a lot of Americans ran to Canada. People were getting high because they didn't know if they were going to live, you know, be drafted and get killed over there. So they were like getting high and like, yo, you know, peace, love, because these older guys that's starting this fucking war, we you know, it was very that. And that's when it was more like a free love society. People just love the one you're with, you know, that kind of thing. Because when you don't think there's going to be tomorrow, you got to live for today. Think about that. And then when things get better, you know, people more socialized. When things get really bad, it becomes a me generation. I think like it must have been around the Reagan era or something where everything started, you know, the economy started falling or this, that, and the other. And it was more the me society. People would dance in the room, but like you're over here, I'm over here. The togetherness thing wasn't really so much. It was like, well, you know, let me get my shit off. You get your shit off. We're good. You know? But when things get better, you know, like after 9/11, which was interesting, after 9/11, people started to be like, oh, wow. We never thought this would happen here. So when people went out, they were a bit more friendly with each other. They were a bit more social with each other. It's weird how the climate changes, you know, because of what the state or the country's going through. It's crazy. Living through that, and you could see that from the 70s to the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. Right now, because of the battle situation, you know, kids dance at each other. They don't dance with each other. You know, thank goodness they're starting to learn hustle because that's forcing them to take a person, stand in front of the person, and have a connection with the person. Thank you. You know.
And hip hop is a battle dance, and I think people think that all street dance is all club dance is hip hop, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, that part of what we've been preaching, the gospel of house, is just like explaining to people what it is and how it's not a battle. And I mean, and then often it'll be young b-boys who'll grow up a little bit, start going to club, and then they're like, oh, you know, they'll come see us and they want to learn, but they're like, you know, they're literally, you know, right in each other's faces and doing this, and it's like.
See, there's a lot that's lost in translation. Because, here's the thing. All of these different dance styles, street dance, let's say, all these different street dance styles have been, that's the word. All these street dance styles have been broadened under the name of hip-hop. To hit, what the kids think, they're using the word hip-hop to mean all styles of urban dance that comes from Latino or Black culture. It's a broad term that is, Vogue? Okay, that's hip hop. It's under urban culture. Whacking? Oh yeah, that's hip hop. It's under urban culture. And that's the funny thing. Because what you're now doing is taking something that had nothing to do with that, putting it as a broad basis for two reasons. One, marketing, which is easier.
It's easy, yeah.
You know, because that way they don't have to think. And put everything under, as you said, the battle. The battle mentality. A lot of these dances are not battles. Hustle is not a battle.
No, other than, yeah.
No, hustle is not a battle. Trust me. It's not a battle.
It's not supposed to be.
No. You're dancing with a person. You're not trying to battle the person. You're having a conversation in the connection that you have with a person when you're hustling. You can have a hustle contest. You cannot have a hustle battle.
Right, yeah.
I mean, what are you going to be doing? Sticking your finger in the face of the next person in a hustle battle?
I think it's just because I'm a bad hustle dancer. Every woman I've ever hustled with has always battled me.
No. Say it isn't so. Say it isn't so. Say it isn't so. No. But it's not a battle. It's not a battle. And see, here's the thing. That's why I say things get lost in translation. Somebody has to come in there and correct that ass.
Yeah.
It's not a battle. If you've got your kids and your kids are writing on the mirror, you're not going to say, okay, baby, that's okay. That's okay. Yo, don't be writing on the mirror. The mirror's to be looked at, not written on. You see what I'm saying? It's not wrong to correct. Yeah. See, here's the thing. We're in a society now that it almost seems like it's wrong to correct a person.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I just did a taboo. No, that's not it.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. No,
there's nothing wrong with that. That's not it. If you say that's that, and it's not, sorry to tell you, it's not. If you have these people that are older, that are still around, that you can talk to, and Don Camp, love him. When he told me the story about the point, this thing, I fell out.
What was the story?
Apparently some girl, he was trying to get attention to some girl if I remembered correctly, in the club, and she was either not paying attention to him or making fun of him, so he figured he'd just put her on the spot. Do a step, point at her. Do another step, point at her. She got so pissed off, she left.
Nice.
So I guess his fellas must have been goofing out. You see that? And it came into the dance. Everything we do in dance comes from real life.
Wow.
Everything.
That's great. I never heard
Paraphrasing, Don. Because you got to tell that story because it's funny as hell. And I'm like, everything that we do in dance comes from real life. Everything. It didn't come like an alien didn't just drop it on the thing. Oh, we're doing the Martian walk. No, everything comes from real life. Once you're connected to that real life issue, your dance lives. And everybody sees it. Everybody feels it. What's happening now is people are thinking that a trick is a dance. No, that's a punctuation at the end of a sentence. If I go, hey, exclamation point. The trick is the exclamation point. If I'm grooving, blah, boom. Oh, that's kind of cool. It works. But if I'm blah, 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 blah. Number one, nobody talks like that. Dance is a conversation. You don't go, so I went to the store, and when I went to the store, nobody does that shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be quiet. Sometimes you have to be loud. Sometimes you have to listen. Sometimes you have to stutter. Sometimes you have to just question. These are things in conversation. Dance is a conversation. You can't be screaming and hear anything. Dance is the same way. The attention span is like that. You can't do that. But only time makes people aware of that. If you do your time in the club teaches you so much. For instance, the club teaches you? You never blame your feet. For instance, I had kids tell me, oh man, I could have done better, but the floor. I said, what? The floor? Let me tell you what the club teaches you. You should know how to dance in socks, barefoot, when your shoes are too slippery, when your shoes have too much grip. The surface in the club changes like that. A person could spill a drink. The pipes are sweating. The floor gets wet. If it's your jam, are you going to stop and go, oh shit, okay, let me wipe the floor? Think about that shit. Common sense. But common sense is not that common. Check that out. You're going to adapt your situation so that you can still be at the end game what you want to experience in the club. The surface is minimal. You know, your intent is driven. So here's the thing. If you're coming for a contest or a battle, why are you going to blame the floor? My mother had a funny saying. She said, you know, a poor craftsman doesn't blame his tools.
Oh,
Mommy, you would have won. You know?
Deep.
Come on now. That's why I believe it or not, that's why I dance in shoes. I dance in shoes because everybody else is dancing in sneakers. No. When I dance in shoes, it gives me a different line. When I dance in slippery shoes, it gives me a different balance weight. And it causes different movement to happen in a totally different way that I may not even have considered. Challenge yourself to these things. That's exploration. That's the how do you say? That's the beauty and joy of dance. You know? But some people don't think that deep. They just want to blah 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 blah. And don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody's got choice. I'm talking about the heads, the club heads, and all of that. I'm talking about them, because you got to know and be honest why you're in the thing that you're in. You got to dance for the right reason. Some people are tourists. They come in, a certain amount of years they're out. Some people think it's cool. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But don't be a tourist and say you're a permanent resident. No, I'm not feeling that. Because permanent residents, they have their own thing that's really deep and really spiritual in what they're doing. And if you're coming in here fly by night saying, yeah, and you're going to be loud about it, nah, makes no sense. Just keep moving. Take the ticket. Keep moving. You know, that's my only gripe.
How has that spiritual journey been for you, throughout your whole life?
Wow.
Through the music? Like at what point do you remember that it started becoming a spiritual journey for you?
I think it had to be 71 or 69. The first record I bought was James. It was a 45. I think it was on the People label, Purple label. James Brown's Hot Pants. Hot Pants. Hey! Hot. Changed my life. Changed my life. And from that moment on, it's been spirit. Because, see, I was raised in Seventh-day Adventist, and, you know, my mom I was forbidden to dance and all of that, but she made the mistake in buying me a little radio. So I used to keep the radio in my room. And the two stations I used to listen to, the WABC, which was the station that played everything on the AM radio, and the FM was WWRL. That was the black station. Okay. 1600. Baby, boy, I'd be in that room tearing it up. What are you doing in there? Nothing. You know,
so when you were dancing then, was it stuff that you had seen other people do? Or
no,
was this just a spontaneous...
TV.
Okay, from TV.
That's
okay.
why I was so odd, because my mom didn't allow me out. So Soul Train was my teacher. So mind you, Soul Train at that time was filmed in California. So I was learning a Californian flavor living in New York City. So I had a really weird kind of disconnect when I started going out, because people kept looking at me like, well, what's he doing? Because you know, back then, come on, kids, you know, there's a saying, youth is wasted on the young. Kids are usually stupid, you know, when you go, we're doing this rivalry, East Coast against West Coast. They even still do that bullshit now. It doesn't make any difference, but there's different inflections that are done in different states doing the same dance. So, you know, I just so happened to be learning from the TV. The television was my teacher since I was not allowed to go out. And when I was able to go out, I had this whole vocabulary that wasn't a New York vocabulary, but it was I guess my impression of a Californian party, Not even like a real party, like what was done for TV. But those kids back then, they were dancing the way that they really did. You know, and I found it really, really funky because the music I identified with. So lo and behold, you go to the club, and my first real club that turned me out was the Loft, which actually was David Mancuso's home.
How did you get invited in there, or did you know people who were dancing there?
That's a funny story. I used to work at the Gramercy Theater, and I was an usher. There was a doorman. Love his name. Eric Jeter, you are the bomb. Eric Jeter, he was an usher. And we sometimes change positions. Sometimes you'd be usher, sometimes you'd be doorman, sometimes maybe even work the cashier. Well, he got hired and he told me about this club. He said, yo, there's this club. Got to take you to. Because I guess he knew I danced or liked the music or something like that. So he said, yo, got to take you to this club. I said, okay, bet. When's it open? At midnight. Open at midnight. Well, since you work in a movie theater, the last show is, let's say, maybe 10, so it's going to run maybe 2 hours, 10, 11, 12, and then you close up the movie theater. So we go. He takes me to this place. At the time, it was 99 Prince Street, and it cost $6.99 to get in. And I said, $6.99? Why is it at $7? It took me 30 years to finally have somebody tell me why it was like that. Because the address was 99 Prince.
Okay.
Like back in the day, there used to be a cartoon, Tobar, the eighth man, Tobar. Tobar is robot spelled backwards. I never knew that shit. You know, things in front of your face, you just don't see it. So that's how I ended up going to the Loft. I rolled up in there, and I'm going to tell you, guys, that changed my life. When I walked in, they accepted you for who you were at that time because they already had their own vibe going on. So here I come, this other element coming in there, moving a totally different way. Nobody peeped at me. Nobody made me feel uncomfortable. They opened up the circle in the basement because the basement, the lights were on. Upstairs it was like clubby, but downstairs the lights were like this. They were on. And you could see everything. People would jump up and hit the rafters like the air ducts that when the jam came on, scared the shit out of me the first time. They were like, bam, 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 bam. I was like, what's happening? You know, is there appreciation for that? People used to take their feet, dip them in baby powder, and leave their footprints on the walls. Amazing. It was amazing. It was the best nurturing situation you could ever have. Wow. And this is what we're talking about, Rise. Yeah. We need spaces for these kids to nurture their situation, you know?
And exchange, too.
Yeah.
Exchange together, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. When you have a safe space, everything changes. I didn't know there were people in there that had guns and all of that shit. It was like neutral territory. People came. Of course, they were selling their drugs. You didn't have to take it. But people came, and it was like a neutral space. That's why, you know, the title "Come As You Are" is something that I had told, you know, Amy Sakata, which actually I got that saying from Barbara Tucker. You know, because we used to do that. We used to have "Come As You Are" parties. You just come as you are. Yeah. We're just saying you're good enough. Just come as you are.
That's the essence of the whole house culture, right? Like that's
exactly.
It was that recipe that happened there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it can still happen. What kids have to do is they have to allow it to happen. Get rid of well, I'll tell you something. Since I teach a lot around the world, and you know, there's something interesting I noticed. When I'm in class, the kids don't even look at themselves in the mirror. So here's the mirror. I'm standing in front of the mirror. We're going through an exercise. They don't even look themselves in the eyes in the mirror. And I said, wow, what the hell is that? I said, guys, just stop. Take a look at yourself. It's this thing about being judged in the cipher that gets these kids to the point where they don't feel that if I'm not good enough, I don't step in. Now, there's a whole bunch of y'all out there that are saying, yeah, that's right. I'm telling you that's bullshit. Because here's the deal. Everybody's good enough with themselves. You understand that? Bravo has a wonderful saying. I never lost a battle to myself.
Bravo with the one-liners.
Exactly. Right? Because the deal is you're good enough. When you allow somebody else to control your self-worth, that's an issue.
But we all do. Everybody does. I mean, the whole social media is about that. You know, I mean, this is one of the most negative sides
Damn right.
of it. It hurts.
You got to fight for
people.
it. You got to fight
hurts.
for it, all right? You
do.
got to fight.
Yeah.
You got to fight for
but
it.
But you and I mean, myself too, we grew up before this stuff started. We saw it start. And I mean, I didn't even believe email was going to be a thing. We first heard email, my sister and I remember we joke around about it. Sometimes we're like, what's this email, this number with the @ we're like, oh, that's never gonna stick.
Dial up.
A year later, you know, we're like, oh shit, everybody's on email now, we better get an email address. And then the same thing with Facebook. Oh, now I better get a Facebook. Now I'm like, oh, Twitter,
the internet too,
Tumblr,
right?
Internet,
remember dial up?
same thing. Yeah, totally. This is a joke, right? But it changed the entire world, right?
It changed, and you know, and let's not get this wrong. It may sound like I'm bitching, or where we're talking about, but the issue is this. You know, yes, times change, but you still have to maintain a certain kind of grounded continuity as the times change.
Absolutely.
That's what we're talking about.
Biologically, we haven't changed in whatever 100,000 years. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
That's
right?
a good notation.
It's like our system is designed for being in a small band of hunter-gatherers. Our biological system is geared towards that, and our social, our response to social environment is geared for 150 people. Now you put that out into the world.
Oh my!
We're all reacting like we're in a little tribe of people, but we're not that anymore. It's a different world, right? And whatever new technology comes in, we're losing stuff with it as well. We're gaining a lot, but we're also losing a lot as well, right?
So. And that's why, as I guess the gist of the whole thing is that's why we have to find the balance. You can have these things to help you, but you can't forget what you already have. You know, I think what tends to happen is we put that in the back burner. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, and end up, like you're saying, losing something because you don't even go back to it because you figure, oh, I'm going to waste too much time. Let me just keep going over here. And that's not the case. So here's the thing. You have to fight for your inner child every day. That's what saved me.
That's deep too, man.
It's hard. You
fight for your inner child every day. Because the child has the natural response to the world, you know?
Isn't that amazing?
The child knows how you look at how they react to stuff and you're like, oh, that's right. That's the right way. Even though we beat it out of ourselves over the course of our life.
Damn right.
By the time we're old, we're disconnected from, a lot of us are disconnected from. But if you can reach that state of the beginner's mind, they call it in Chinese martial arts.
I love it.
It's like, you got to always be the beginner and be happy to be the beginner, you know?
I'm with you right there. And that's why I love kids. And that's why I like being around kids. Kids teach me so much. And I mean, anybody that's younger than me, I would consider a kid. They teach me so much. I'm 60 now. You know, I've been dancing a long time. And I had to fight for everything that I had emotionally, you know? So when you think about that, you go, wow, if I can share some of that with someone, at least they may recognize, oh, okay, maybe I don't have to value this or value that, and value me, yourself. Value yourself first. I don't think a lot of people put themselves first. I don't. Honestly, I don't.
They put other people's opinions of them first. Oh, that's devastating.
I did that all my life, and I understand. That's why I'm so connected to it. That's why I'm like an advocate for it. That's why, you know, if it wasn't for Willie Ninja, I don't think I'd even be involved in Vogue. Vogue found, that culture found in me, or I found in it, the owning of self. Really simple. Because back in those days, everybody partied together, so the Vogue kids would be in the club, you know. I didn't think of it as like a separate community, because all the dance community was the same. We all partied. The joke is we go from one club to the next, to the next, to the next. So you're basically seeing the same people, or the same little demographic going from one club to the next, to the next, to the next. Everybody knew each other in that sense. So why wouldn't it be logical that the B-boys would be influenced from the Voguers with the tutting?
Yeah.
You know, the difference would be like, well, with the tutting, the B-boys, they follow the tut. Let's say Voguers, they know it's already there, so they don't look at it.
Interesting.
You know?
Let me tell you a story. It was 2001.
Yeah.
And I went to Miami to the Winter Music Conference. And I'd never been to that. I'd never been to New York. I'd never experienced America really in the club scene.
Yeah.
And so I was, I guess, 26, 27, DJing for several years, and always been a fan of Masters at Work, and finally get to see Louis and Kenny playing, right? So I walk into this club. It was beautiful. And I mean, we're coming from, it's cold. You go down there, you're sweating, and I'm just sweating, and get to this club, and big lineup, and finally I enter into the room, it's just slamming music, beautiful, amazing, soulful house, New York style soulful house, and I walk into this room, and the room is split in two. So there's a crowd on the left, a crowd on the right, and then there's the DJ all the way at the back. You see Louis or Kenny, I forget who was. I think it was Louis playing. And in front of him is this. It looked like an alien or a god of some sort.
That had to be Willie.
He was like this, tutting. And he was moving towards me.
That's Willie.
But
that's Willie.
Like he was floating.
God, that's
and
Willie.
I didn't know who he was.
That's Willie.
I didn't know who he was. And I just see this creature like hovering towards me. And I look down at his feet, and his feet were going like this. Yeah. Like it looked like insect feet.
Like this.
Yeah. And then I hear everyone saying, "Oh, that's Willie Ninja. That's Willie Ninja." I was like, "Who is this dude, Willie Ninja?" And he just like came right up to me, and was voguing, and I was just like, "What is this?" And the whole crowd was silent, and people were watching, and the music was slamming. I was just like, it was this apparition, and I got to meet him that night, and I hung out with him a bit, and people were telling me who he was, and I was so blown away. And that was my first exposure to Vogue. It was the first time I saw it. But I'd seen like Madonna's in the 80s, But man, like wow.
And that's another thing. I don't blame people. Look. It's always about your introduction, right? People would always say, well, Archie, what do you think about, people say Madonna invented Vogue? I said, listen, guys. Madonna never said that, number one. Number two, you cannot blame anyone for their inspiration, their first inspiration. It's always about the beginning. Imagine, if you had a horrible time with music in the very first beginning, you'd never touch it ever again. It's always about the introduction. If your introduction leaves you a good experience, it'll enhance the rest of your life. If it's bad sex, if you have bad sex the first time, you know what? I'm not gonna touch that for a while. Maybe I'll get around to it again, but right now, nah, I'm not gonna touch that. Yeah. It's always about that introduction. So seeing it the way it affects you that way. That's what dance does. That's what inspiration does. You go to a club, like you said, you go to the club and you hear all that music, it affects you a certain way. You're like, yo, what is this? Yeah. It changes you.
It does.
And here's the thing. People have to allow, this is a thing with the generations that it's a little bit frustrating. They have to allow themselves to be open enough for that change when it comes. Sometimes people are so resistant to stay in the box because that's the only box that they know that they'll be, let's say, comfortable with, because this one and this one and this one is defined by it. So I have to be defined by it too. In our time, that's not the case. In our time, it's like, if I experience it and we're all coming together to experience it, each one is going to have a different experience. But you know what? We're allowed and encouraged to have our unique experience, however the thing affects us. Not to be pigeonholed in a box.
I'm sure you've seen all those memes with like the club back then, and it's just people bugging out, and then the club now, and it's everyone holding up their phones trying to record the experience so they can share it with people. It's almost like we're not allowing ourselves to experience it for ourselves. It's only valid if other people are experiencing it through your eye. Like everybody's a journalist almost,
I mean, okay, I get it. I mean, there's a lot of things I would have loved to look back on, to visually see it, of course. But when you're living your life, you don't live your life like this because you lose the experience of being involved. I mean, like you said, it's a very real thing when these kids come and they're filming the whole party and they're filming the whole experience. And the most is like, yeah, but the camera's going to shake. So let me stay there right there. Am I lying? I mean, I'm like, dude, really? if somebody's going to film a dancer, the best thing for you to do is say, here, you hold my camera. I'm so busy doing what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just having a good old time. And if you so happen to catch it, good for you. That's what I do. If somebody catches me doing something, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. Here's the thing. I embrace all of my flaws. All of them. I'll miss a step or I'll fuck up and fall on the floor. I don't have an issue. The thing is, when a person, because of this content, feels that the content has to be perfect all the time,
everybody does that.
It sets up a different kind of mentality and a different kind of pressure. Think about that.
It's brutal, man.
You don't want that for your kids because when your kids feel that if it's not less than perfect, I'm a failure, that doesn't work.
And look at the suicide rates and the whole depression and drug addiction. You know, in the States, I read that the opioid crisis is so bad that it's the highest leading cause of death for people under 40 years old.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, something like 60,000 people died last year of that. Higher than gun-related violence and car accidents. Like, it's crazy.
Yo,
It's crazy.
I didn't know those stats.
Oh, it's crazy. It's a huge thing that's going on, man. People are addicted to that stuff. Pain relief, you know, is like, you know, and then the inactivity that comes from the medium itself of just being in front of these things all the time, right? So, like a big thing that I've been into is this whole concept of positive aging. And I mean, you're a striking example of positive aging. You know, you're still physically active every day. You're expressing your passion physically. And like, I mean, you know, it's hard also because that same social pressure that people are feeling to dance perfectly, they're also feeling in every aspect. They got to be, you know, making all the money. They got to have all the finest stuff.
Yeah.
Gotta, you know, and then at the same time, they're hooked on the TV and they're hooked on all this stuff. Like, where are you going to find the time to do all this stuff? It's just like a downward spiral if you're not careful and if you don't love yourself enough and you don't spend time for yourself chasing after the things that are important to you. Right?
I always quote Bravo. Bravo is the smartest man I know. He has another saying. He goes, just be happy you're in the room. And I'm like, oh, shit. Don't go to these contests thinking like, hey, I'm going to be winning. I'm going to do it. You dude, just be happy you're in the room because that's win-win. Something so simple as that. He comes up with all of this shit. And I'm going, that is just so simple. But it's true. Just be happy you're in the room. The least common denominator that makes you happy is win-win. Think about that. Win-win. So that no matter what happens, I'm good.
Yeah.
That's the way to approach your life.
No, that's dope. That's heavy.
The Brazilians do it because of their situation. I may not have money, but they're happy. A lot of them. They're very happy. A lot. There's a lot of shit going on over there. Yeah. But like anything else, if you grow up around it, there's a certain amount of acceptance of your situation. But it doesn't mean that inside has to be reflected. That same situation. These kids teach me so much. Affirmations of things that I may already know. You know? Seeing visual affirmations of that is so refreshing, really. And I'm going like, wow. This is amazing. That's why I think, you know, I consider myself a worldly person because the world is really interesting to me. Our culture, meaning us, people, young, hanging in there. Look, I'm 60 years young. I plan to be this. Well, let's put it this way. When I was going to turn 60, I said, I plan to be the funkiest 60-year-old there is.
I think you are.
I'm working on it, kids. I'm working on it. You know? But that whole thing of, Margie said another thing. She said, Archie, we're doing shit that nations can't do. I said, what do you mean? Look at this. We're bringing all these different cultures together under one thing.
That's beautiful.
Under music and dance. Nations can't even do that and sit at the damn table and have a conversation. Let me tell you, that hit me like a...
That's powerful.
Hit me like a brick. I was like, wow. She said, think about it, Archie. Look at this. These kids are traveling all over the world for the feel-good. Think about that. For the feel-good.
It's amazing.
And you can't have Russia talk to America, talk to France, because everybody's posturing because, you know, we're bigger than that. Yo, it's simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. You keep it simple, you won't have an issue. You know? So people are, oh, well, yeah, well, you know, it's more complicated than that. Well, you know what? Maybe that's the issue. People forget the complication of simplicity. Maybe that's the issue. There you go.
Hey, you mentioned seeing Willie. When you mentioned learning from Willie, and I mentioned seeing him for the first time. What was Willie like, and when did you meet Willie?
Let me see, 1980? 1980, was it 82? No, 1982. Coming from the loft. Because usually what would happen is that the party ends at 1 in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon. So we're there from midnight to Sunday afternoon. And then what we would do is we would take the balloons from the club, and then we go to Washington Square Park and sell the balloons for batteries for the boombox. And then we would dance some more in the park. Wow. So then, you know, different, in the park, you've been to Washington Square Park, right? Well, you know the different ways to come into the park? So here's a joke. So we used to nickname them. So where the lesbians were, we call that Lesbo Row. Where the gay boys were, we call that Fag Alley. Where the Jamaicans were, the other, that was like the drug den, you know? It's so bad, but that's what we used to say, right? So we used to do these stupid little rivalries like the loft against the garage, which is kind of stupid because, you know, the garage was kind of like, we thought like the Studio 54 of the underground. At least that the loft heads thought so, you know? But
to explain that for people who don't know.
Oh, Studio 54 was like a very shishi foo-foo, upscale clientele, celebrity mixed with regular people party where you wait outside on a line. Even if there's nobody inside, they make you fit that, because I busted them, for real. Nobody was inside. They did this long line outside, and they would go like this. Oh, I think you can come in. You look properly dressed, and you. And I figured out the secret, how to get in. So what I did is that I'd be on the line, and I would start dancing on the line. Like, oh, they like that. Like, oh, this one seems to be having his own party. You, come on in.
We need you.
That's what I used to do. That's how I used to get over.
Wow.
That's how they used to get to know me, to go in. I figured it out, you know, instead of, I'm waiting online. Come on, it's cold. Come on. Doesn't work that way. They look to see who adds to the party. That's what the idea was. I figured that out. But then, you know, I mean, they played kind of like commercial music. It wasn't like the underground. You know, they had things in there I didn't really understand. You know, I didn't know what the spoon meant. Because, you know, I was naive. I didn't know what the spoon meant. It was a Coke spoon that was floating in there. I didn't know what that meant. You know, there was a half moon in there. It was like a real light show, like a theater light show thing. So the garage, in a sense, was exclusive like that. Well, both of these places were. But the garage had more of a feeling like if it was a celebrity joint, you know? Even though you can find celebrities in the garage. It was definitely for us. But every so often, you'd find a celebrity in there. They had shows, Grace Jones, Atlantic Star, all these people would come in, you know, Leroy Burgess, all those people, you know, would come in and perform. And the loft didn't have any of that. The loft was like a home, like a rent party, a rent party every week, you know? So when you do that, you know, it's a very cool kind of thing. And so we took those. So after there, go to Washington Square Park, get the batteries, dance some more, maybe then go to the beach. So one of these days, I see Willie voguing in the park. I'm like, and we all know each other, being friendly, you know, being around there. So this one would battle, this one would battle. So Willie had this habit of taking his finger and sticking his finger in your face. Well, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I said, you know what? I said, I don't know what it is about you that I like, but if you do that shit to me one more time, I'm going to break your finger. And ever since then, we were friends. That's how it happened. Steven was with me, my friend Steven. Because, you know, we were just dancing in the park. And the extra added fun was that people used to give us money, too, in the hat. So go buy some more batteries for the boombox. Hey, you know. And it was fun. I mean, and in New York at that time, you can go every day of the week, and we did. Every day of the week to a different club that was free. There was Peppermint Lounge. There was Electric Circus, and that was hot because Electric Circus had a 3-ring circus in the club with a merry-go-round. That shit was hot. Electric Circus. Then there was Crisco's. Crisco's was hilarious to me. If you look it up online, you'll fall out. The DJ booth was in a giant Crisco can. And I was so naive, I didn't know what that was. So I'm in the club, and like there's imagine maybe it's like a 20-foot wall, and they made a can that went all the way up close to the ceiling, and the DJ booth was inside, and it was the Crisco can, and I thought, Crisco product, I wonder, why would that? Until they told me, and I was like, oh, that's what Crisco's used for. Oh, okay. I was so naive. It was hilarious. Oh, when you go to a club that says Cochrane, you figure out, okay, that's what that is. But when you go to a club at Crisco, hey, vegetable shortening? What's that? So, yeah, so we had Sticks, where this girl, she was a female DJ, Sticks, Electric Circus, Peppermint Lounge, what's the other one? Tories.
Okay.
And all of these places were free. So we would go in there, we'd dance, and that was the thing. When you dance every day and still do your thing, we didn't know that, let's say by technical standards, that was our studio time. So you're getting better every time, every day. So when people used to tell us, and Ejo says it very clearly in Check Your Body at the Door, what kind of dancing do you do? Oh, I can do a hip hop, kind of house and then break. Oh, that's not real dancing. That has always been the stigma with urban dance. Oh, that's not a real training.
Yeah.
It's a different type of training. And it's just as valid. The man hours and woman hours that people put in when they're in the club, going from place to place to place to place, working on their skills, getting their name from their skills in the club. That's how you get your name. You don't sit back and do what these kids do now. Let me find a name that's cool. Let's see. Let me try Ultraman. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. You
get your name from what you do. I never wanted a name. Me personally, I felt Archie was good enough. And that was hard because at first I thought I needed one, and I was thinking because I was tall and I was skinny, well, let me call myself Slim. And then I said, well, let me call myself Stretch. And then I thought, that shit sounds stupid to me.
Yeah.
So I said, well, Archie's good enough.
That's dope.
And that's how it worked, out of a natural thing. Yeah.
So you saw him, you guys were at Washington Square Park, and you started dancing. And at that time, were you voguing already? Or?
No,
okay,
no.
So you were whacking.
I was whacking, but I had seen Vogue a little bit before in that park with a friend of mine, Anthony Marshall. But I never thought about doing it until I started partying at the Tracks. There's a club, Tracks, that was in Manhattan. And Willie used to go there. And the reason why Willie and we ended up being friends is because I had a group back then. We were trying to do a little dance group called Breed of Motion. Okay. And Willie joined the group. Okay. So it was originally done by Steve and Enrique, myself, Javier Izquierdo, and Brahms La Fortune. And actually, we were 8 members. We had Aubrey Gardner, we had Benjamin Harris, we had Dennis Rodriguez, who passed away from AIDS. He was the first one that passed away from AIDS that I ever knew. And he was part of the group. We have a piece, and my brother-in-law, Tyrone Proctor, there would have been no Breed of Motion if it wasn't for Tyrone, because we were trying to get a name, and Stephen's mother actually named us. And Tyrone is the one that said, we should start singing. And we were like, singing? Yeah, we should start singing. I had no idea. I had no idea.
Huh.
Tyrone's responsible for that.
And
So we
you
only
did,
have
or?
we only have one hit. Well, not hit. One pressed track
Okay.
that was done by Blaze
Oh, under Breed of Motion? Or? Yeah. Wow.
under Breed of
I gotta
Motion,
look that up.
and the first person that was pressed by Breed of Motion. The first person that did the first track on this was Strafe.
Interesting.
And we took that track that Strafe did, and believe it or not, we toured all of New York, not being signed. And let me tell you something. We were at, back in those days, they used to have like the Winter Music Conference. So we had a party. There was one party at the Tunnel, and we performed. And back then, that's when there was Hanson and Davis, Marshall Jefferson, Liz Torres. You know, face it, face it, face it, face it. We opened for all of them.
Wow.
It was funny because after we were done, Marshall, Marshall, you're hilarious. I remember what you said. Damn, we supposed to follow that? I fell out. I fell out because Marshall had that hit. Gonna have house music all night long. Then work your body, boom. And their family, because back in those days, out of New Jersey, there were a lot of those cats coming through. Sybil, Don't Make Me Over. They were coming out of there. Blaze, those guys, they were doing a lot. They were doing a lot, And A&M Records wanted to sign us. I didn't know anything about it then. But those A&R guys were really funny. The conference was like on a Friday. You're hot on Friday, and Monday they forget you. It's like, oh yeah, yeah. It's like, come on now. They run up to you, oh yeah, you guys are hot, blah, 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 blah. David Morales said one thing that was so funny. When we did Love Light, David said, yo, you guys are hot, but I don't know that bullshit that y'all were dancing to. I fell out. I fell out. That was so funny. But it was at Love Light, 33rd and 10th. Certain things I remember, that was really, really, really crazy, But we all grew up together. We all grew up in the same sea, So it's amazing for me to see how everybody's career, just out of the initial love that they did. I know David Morales from the Ozone Layer, And look at him. Louis Vega, I've known him from, Love Light days. Look at him.
Yeah.
I'm like, very few people set out to do something and do it in a big way. When you see In Paris Is Burning, Willie says, oh yeah, I want to go to Paris and make the real Paris burn. I want to be a big star. How many people do you know that actually do that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. And I'm going, really? Wow. So you can't help but think back and say, I wonder what would I have done different? That's always been my question.
What advice would you give to young people who are starting to dance now? People who love it and they want it in their life,
Keep it simple first. If you complicate it in your head, then everything's going to get blown out of proportion. Because sometimes that journey that starts initially with love can morph into something that's really, really, really detrimental to you. So that's why I kept saying, you fight for your inner child every day. That means that whatever that thing is that you love, you got to protect it. So that means take certain time for you. Yeah. You're a father, you have a wife, you have kids. But there's a certain time for you that you need to maintain. Absolutely. So that if this is right, all of that's going to be right.
That's huge, man. Yeah.
It works. It works. And it may be different for everybody in that thing that they choose, but you have to do that thing. You got to go back to the well.
Self-care.
Yes. We're not taught that, We're not taught that. We're taught achieve at any cost. I'll get to that later. Achieve. I'll get to that later. Achieve. And self-care is always last on the list. Sometimes it's too late. So I think the evolution of these young people is you have to be aware. Try to fine tune your senses to be aware of what you're going through. Be honest with what you're feeling, because hiding what you feel can only hurt you later on, you know? It's just a simple notion, you know, and it works. You know, so I think that's a key thing for young people, because their time is very valid. It's valid because it's their time.
Yeah.
You know? But the validity will be clearer as they become aware of the time they're living in. Because when we were younger, all I knew was being present in what's happening with me there. I think I got more aware in my, believe it or not, probably in my late 30s, early 40s, which I find is a little late, but I'm kind of slow like that, you know. If you could get that earlier, that's the best gift. And that's just being aware of your surroundings, seeing things for what they are, not making it up in your head that it's something else. Like they say, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and got feathers, that shit ain't a cow. That ain't it, you know? Yeah. Acknowledge it. And it's okay to acknowledge it. Like I tell these kids, if the sky is blue, right? A lot of you heard me say this. If the sky is blue and you see white clouds in the sky and everybody's around you saying, yeah, man, the sky is blue, the sky is blue. And you notice that there are white clouds in the sky. Are you just going to say, but, you know, there are white clouds in the sky? No, man, the sky's blue, sky's blue. Okay, sky's blue. Are you going to say that because it's going to be easier for you? Or are you going to say, okay, the sky is blue, but guys, there is a white cloud. There are white clouds in the sky. Sometimes you have to be the guy that's always out of the loop.
Yeah.
That's the hardest position to be in.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is. And you got to be comfortable with that. I've been that guy all my life. So I can say this shit. I know what this shit feels like. You know? No, you're not going to be popular. No, not everybody's going to understand your journey. A dancer's journey is a lonely one. Nobody will understand your sacrifices. Your parents definitely won't understand your choices. So here's the deal. All of that is not for them. It's for you.
Also, you may not be able to make a living out of it.
Exactly. And you got to be good with that.
That's huge.
You got to be good with that.
You got to be good with working double what everybody else is working.
Ding.
You know?
Ergo, working 3 damn jobs.
Yeah.
Now, if I think back, if I had the awareness of how to do this, maybe I would have been an actor. Maybe I would have been a dancer in another field. Maybe I would have stayed with ballet and not leave when I was 12. Who knows? But I wasn't aware. And I think a lot of this also is being a smart parent. Because as a smart parent, you see your children's gifts. You're supposed to nurture your children's gifts. You just don't go, oh, that's cute. You give them options. Yeah. You know, try that. You don't like it? Try that. What do you want to do? Try that. Give them choices. You don't say, I want you to be an architect, and that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I want you to make money. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because honestly, all a parent wants is their kid to be happy, safe, and self-sufficient. They can't understand your journey. Yeah. They can only relate it from their limited perspective. Yeah. Because for them, that's real. All this other artist shit, they don't know. But when they see it work, they go, damn, that's how it is? And sometimes they may get on board and go, wow, I see now. And that's the hard part, where you have to fight for your voice. You know, and sometimes, and a lot of times, especially in Asian communities and West Indian communities, your voice is silenced by the powers of the elders. You know, because they're no, we don't see value in that. You're going to do this. And they spend their lives living out somebody else's dream. That's tough. That's hard. That's very hard. These kids tell me everything, and and some people, some of them dance on the slide, like how I did. They dance on the slide, and their parents don't know.
Yeah. Well, Sarah was like that. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
See?
I mean, it was not encouraged. It was frowned upon. You know.
Exactly. But look at all this beauty. Look at it.
Yeah.
Look, you never. That's why I tell these kids, you never know what's down the road. You don't worry about the ending. Just worry about your direction. That's it. If you know you love music, that's all you need to know. The Doors do this. If she knows she loves dance, the Doors do this. She got a profession and she still danced because the Doors do this. That's what you do. You don't work at the ending and say, oh, that speaker, I'm going to be that speaker and be that speaker and blah. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because you're going to let yourself down. Know that, yo, I'm hearing that music and it's pulling me in that direction. Because all of this in my life now, it's all because of the music. That's it. Not because of the dance, because of the music. Dance is a byproduct of that. When I shake that ass, I'm living that music. That's as simple that for me. But other people go, Archie the vulgar, Archie the whacker. No, Archie the dancer. Because for me, it doesn't matter what music it is. If I have an emotional connection to it, I'm moving. And I think that's what's the problem, because we get so codified in doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. Now they say, well, Archie, you're a teacher. So if you're teaching this style and teaching this, isn't that codification? Well, here's the thing. If I'm growing up in a particular type of environment, and if I know that environment well, I can relate that environment. Each one of these little, let's say, demographic environments have certain kinds of behaviors. And if I'm familiar with that behavior, that's the behavior that I'm going to show you in this environment. This is the behavior I'm going to show you in that environment. This is the behavior I'm going to... So I look at it more so as that way, as opposed to saying, okay, well, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G that belongs here. And A, B, C, D, E, F, G belongs here. I want to give it more of an emotional connection, because that's basically what it was, an emotional connection. Let's say in Vogue, it's like, I don't care about this bitch, that bitch, I'm that bitch. That's the emotional connection. You know, I'm fighting to be heard. That's my emotional connection. House is different. If let's say we're in the club and we're just vibing on how that music just makes you feel and what it's doing to your body. Sometimes in the session, in the club, your eyes will be closed and you'll just be going on in. Nobody's worried about you, but everybody's enjoying that spiritual feeling that's lifting you up. That's a totally different thing. Now, like with the B-boys. Now, if the B-boys is like, yo, I'm going to put my testosterone on the ground. Yo, because I'm going to show you I'm the baddest dude up in this bad boy. That's a different dynamic.
Totally, yeah.
It's all valid. But it's not operating from the outside in. It's operating from the inside out. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. These kids that are learning in the classroom, they're learning it from the outside in. You cannot learn the culture until you put it in application on that floor in the social, in the inside out.
Word. No, that's huge.
Makes sense, huh?
It's like you were saying about the tutting, right? Like, you know, they're all doing it, but it's a similar movement, but the intention behind the movement is completely different, right? So,
and a lot of it too has a lot to do with, here's the thing, we all party together, but you know, still, America is pretty homophobic. So here's the deal. If you're going to have straight men seeing what the gay boys do and being influenced by it because they like it, but yo, I don't want to be called gay, so I got to figure something out. You know, I like that, but I don't want to be called gay. So they figured out. Well, I figured this is more. It's using the root of the Egyptian hieroglyphics in a different way. But this time, I don't have to be all that. You know, I could be because Old Way originally is male Vogue. Three elements, or three ingredients that make it. It's hieroglyphics, martial arts, and military. Those three primary things you build a lot of vocabulary from. And that's very strong male movement.
Masculine movement.
You know.
Yang.
Yes. Yeah. When the fellas see that, then they get involved. Then they want to get that. They can't deal with all the feminine stuff. But then again, I tell these guys, so let me explain some of you. This is very funny saying. I said, did you know that every man is born from a woman? Did you know that?
Of course.
And they go, so here's the deal. If you deny that other part of yourself, you're not loving your whole self at all.
Talk to me about about gender in dance and how that's evolved over the years.
Oh yeah, back in the 80s. I'll say the 80s because 70s I really couldn't go out dancing I did on the sneak, but not the underground clubs. I really found the underground clubs in 1980. Women definitely had a role in the underground scene. Hip hop was very that's before hip hop came, but hip hop was very male oriented, and the women kind of got lost. So in order for them to get respected, they had to adopt the male bravado. So like, if a girl can beat you and challenge you, it's like, oh, yo, she's dope. She gets a little bit of respect. In essence, she sacrifices, which a lot of them did, she sacrifices her femininity to come over to the male side for the males to get respect. Because you have these two bulls, the men, they're like, originally they did that to get the attention of the women.
Yeah.
But here's what happens. If your rep and your ego is on the line, you don't want to get burned by another dude. Yeah. So you're focusing on him. He's focusing on you. They're not even, they're like, let's say the prize at the end, but think about that. That's not even a value. That's like secondary. We're going to deal with this. She should be primary. No, we're dealing with this first. And after that, then, So here's the thing. So women sacrifice themselves to be part of the culture on males' terms, not on their terms. So that's why you have all these women at the time moving like boys.
B-girling.
Yeah. They didn't even realize that that's what was happening, So these styles that seem to celebrate the female movement is giving them their power back.
Whacking, voguing.
And Vogue is giving them their power back. Now, Vogue is a reflection of life. Every aspect of life is represented in Vogue. You can be very masculine, you can be very feminine, you can be very, you could be trans, you could, as we say, you could fag out, you could do all of that stuff. You could be undetectable, you could do all of that stuff. It's every aspect of human life and human culture in society that's in there. So now, women, this is amazing. Women have found, there's so many women involved in Vogue because they're finding that's a liberation for them. Isn't that something?
They don't have to put on a masculine air.
Exactly.
They can embrace the feminine.
Exactly.
The yin.
Now, imagine this is what happens. So now the fellas are seeing that. They can't do anything with it. They can't do anything with it. The first time they see a young lady dress up out of the baggy pants and all of that, they're like, yo, damn, she cleans up good. Because they're not even thinking about that. The moment they see that, it's like, oh, this is something I'm not accustomed to. Like wow, now the women having their own, being redefined by their own empowerment through this movement. So now, the fellas, here's the funny thing about a man's ego. So the fellas are now, oh shit, we want some of that because now the attention is not coming here anymore. It's too much over there anymore. So what happens normally, and you've seen this, in battles, when a woman puts all of that on a man, there's nothing he can do. So what he tries to do, he tries to clown her. And clown her badly.
That's pathetic.
Exactly. It's happened many times. And I go, wow, pathetic. Man, come on, dude. You try to clown her. She's giving it to you. And you just can't take it. So like, oh shit. Because what do you do with that? Because right now, the thing about sexuality, right now, in front of all these people, your masculinity is on the line. Because you're concerned about it.
But we're in an interesting time. I mean, the whole, even the language around, non-binary and just...
Yeah, you're right.
It's shifting a lot, right?
So
it must be interesting to see for you. And was Vogue primarily something that was in the gay clubs?
Absolutely.
And then when did it shift to the balls? When did the balls start?
Well, my understanding, because I came in 1980, it's been going on since the late 60s. Late 60s with the drag,
so it
from what I was told.
The club. It predates the whole club thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing I understand about gay culture, you need outlets, like how we said about release and outlets to celebrate yourself. And 9 times out of 10, because it's illegal, it was illegal, you do it in secret. So you find little speakeasies, you get together, you have these contests. And apparently what started to happen, all of the white drag queens used to get the prizes and the darker ones didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it still was a very racial color thing. So the colored ones, made their own
Wow.
to celebrate themselves and their beauty and this, that, and the other. Ergo, bull culture. Now, the interesting thing is, I'm definitely responsible for starting the scene in Europe. That's for sure.
Wow.
From my own perspective, which I tell people, what it's given to me, that's what I share. So for me, being a kid that was really skinny, awkward, couldn't do sports, but had this voice at 6'1" at the time, 6'1" at the time, how you going to hide, Being picked on because you weren't violent, I had to grow into this body. I had to literally change my body indirectly, and I didn't even know it, by running track. When I was running track, my coach at the time, Richie Stewart, he said, well, listen, in order to pass the finish line, you got to lift weights so that when you do this and you pump, it picks your legs up. So I started lifting weights. I didn't realize what it was doing because I was still dancing. So imagine, I'm training twice a day and dancing every night. If I show you that picture of what I looked like, I have it in my phone, what I looked like when I was 30, I think. 30? I tell that joke, I'd have dated me. How about that? So I didn't realize what was happening. So then when it actually happened, then you started getting all this attention that you either liked or didn't like. Because it was, when you have that, you become a magnet to all different kind of energies, So that alone was a mind-blowing change. But I think my life is a study in human nature. That's what I like to think of it as now. Because everything that's happened to me since small is a study, I think, in human nature. That's why I'm very curious about people. So being involved in this culture, I thought, wow. So, okay, yeah, I'm not gay, but I hang out. But then these people are my people because we're partying.
Yeah, you're dancing together.
So I don't see the difference. But here's the funny thing. So I go like this. I say, okay, I get it. Now it's the thing about terms and being defined by this and defined by that. Soon as I think of it like that, I'm totally against that. So I'm like, well, if you want to think I'm this good, if you want to think I'm this good. I'm here shaking my ass. I'm going to do my thing. Trust me. I ain't got nothing to worry about.
For you, the movement is pure, and it doesn't matter.
It's fun. Yeah. It's fun. Here's the thing. This shit is fun. How could you not have fun? I don't get that, Because if I was to be worried, I told this the other day too. I forgot who was talking to. But I told this the other, if I was worried about how I move, I would never dance at all. What a shame would that be for me?
Yeah.
Being imprisoned in my own body because I'm worried about what you are saying, and I'm taking value in what you are saying. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not doing that bullshit.
And that's what I think a lot of people would love to dance. And I'm like, people always tell me, man, you're like a pusher of dance. Stop pushing it on me. But it's because I want to share this love that I have because it's done so much for me. And I feel like so many people are not dancing because they're afraid of what other people will think.
Exactly.
It's
not
tragic.
wrong.
It's tragic.
You're not wrong.
It's a tragedy to watch,
You're damn right it's a tragedy to watch. Because what that says, it's saying how you're allowing this entity that you can't even touch control you.
Oh, it's brutal.
That's why I keep saying, and I'll say it till the day I die, you have to fight for your inner child every day. That's what I mean.
I'm going to take that with me, man. I'm going to take that.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And you can identify it.
Totally
as soon as you feel it, no, I'm fighting for my inner child today.
That's beautiful.
As soon as you feel it, and you'll feel it. And it's the weirdest thing, it happens at the strangest times. Like, for instance, if you, like I wore this today, right? The blue. If I wanted to wear bright yellow, because I like the color yellow, the other voice in my head is saying, well, Archie, if you wear the yellow, that's a bright color. People are going to look at you. That's when I get the inner chuckle. Wait. I like yellow. I'm wearing yellow.
That's beautiful.
That's what I mean by identifying it. There you go.
That's beautiful. Archie, We have a very few minutes to get to our session. So
Oh shit! I didn't know. Oh, dude, you gotta stop me. I told you I would.
I'm stopping you now. So listen, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've shared with us.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate having you. We're really looking forward to the session. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you, my man.
It's gonna be good. Yes. Play some tunes.
Thank you for doing this.